Prospect JR Ritchie got the call up for today's series finale against the Washington Nationals in DC at lunchtime. Here's your 10-minute scouting report for today's game. This is your Braves Today Scouting Report, a production of the Believe Podcast Network and presented to you by FanDuel. I'm Lindsey Crosby. In the next 10 minutes, we're breaking down everything you need to know before first pitch. Today, it's the Braves and the Nationals in the series finale, so let's get into it. Braves have put out their lineup, and it is back to the normal lineup that you see against a right-handed starter. Ronald Acuna Jr., Drake Baldwin, Matt Olson, 1 through 3. Followed by Austin Riley, Ozzie Albies, and Michael Harris. Batting sixth, he's been red hot in this series. Dominic Smith checks back into the lineup as a designated hitter, batting seventh with Mauricio Dubon and Mike Yastrzemski. I mentioned JR Ritchie's the starter. We're going to get to that in a few minutes. There is a lot more information about that, by the way, in your podcast feeds. I put out a special episode this morning all about JR Ritchie, everything you need to know, what he throws, how he's going to fare today, all of that good stuff. The Nationals lineup is kind of hilarious because they made sure that they got as many left-handed hitters as they have on the roster to face JR Ritchie. James Wood, the top is still kind of the same. James Wood leading off, Luis Garcia Jr. playing first base, batting second, then DH Jose Tena, and shortstop C.J. Abrams. They're all left-handed hitters. Then you get batting fifth, the only right-handed hitter in the lineup, center fielder Jacob Young, batting fifth. Then you have left fielder Dalen Lyle, second baseman Nasim Nunez, who is a switch hitter, third baseman Yorvit Vivas, and then catcher Keibert Ruiz, who is a switch hitter. So it's lefty, 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 one righty, lefty, switch hitter, lefty, switch hitter. And they have a bunch of righties on the bench that they can put in when the Braves go to the bullpen. All right, so for Cade Cavalli, the starter for the Nationals, 4.12 ERA this season. His expected ERA is a 4.57, and his fielding independent pitching is a 3.60. It's a really interesting profile. 19.4% strikeout rate, which you like. It's still not great, but it's not terrible. 12.9% walk rate, not good. The spread between these, 6.5%, is one of the lowest strikeout to walk ratios in baseball. He has pretty decent velocity, averages 96 miles an hour on his 96.2 on his four-seamer, 95.6 on his sinker, 94.7 on his cutter. He throws a curveball, a sweeper, and a changeup. He is average at getting ground balls, but he is just very good at taking the sting out of the swing. His hard hit rate is only 30%, 85th percentile in baseball. And that's because of just weak contact. His average exit velo in general of 87 miles an hour is 77th percentile in baseball. He doesn't get a ton of chase. He doesn't get a ton of whiffs. You put balls into play, they're just not hit incredibly hard. The downside here for Cade Cavalli is the Nationals defense is not good. That's why his field and independent pitching is 3.60, but his ERA is 4.12, and the expected ERA is even higher. The way that he likes to attack hitters, for lefties, it's mostly four-seamer curveball changeup is kind of how he starts everything. He does like to go to the sweeper as a put-away pitch. He does pull that out a little bit when he's ahead and when he gets to two strikes, but it is mostly four-seam and knuckle curve early. Reminder, knuckle curve is not a knuckleball type of curveball. It's just a curveball with a spiked finger that has a little bit better velocity than a typical curveball. His curveball is 84 miles an hour. A lot of guys who are throwing mid-90s, their curveballs are like 80. This is because it's a knuckle curve. It's not anything to do with knuckling like a knuckleball would. Versus righties, Cade Cavalli is mostly sinker, four-seamer, sweeper. He does pull out that knuckle curve early in the count to try and steal some strikes. 0-0, 0-1, 1-0. My prediction is that somebody today is going to ambush a knuckle curve early and send it for a ride. Don't know if it's going to go out or not, but my prediction is that somebody jumps on a knuckle curve early. The sequencing for him, it's not always a guarantee he's going to be in the zone on the first pitch. He has just as many 1-0 pitches thrown as 0-1 pitches when he faces a lefty. He's a little bit better. He's a little bit worse at getting a first strike against a righty. So there's no guarantees that he's going to be in the zone. But for the most part, he's a pretty well-sequenced pitcher. He does everything pretty well. He does have some tendencies you can pick up on, right? The middle stuff, 1-1, 2-1 to lefties. He's throwing a lot of four-seam changeup and not a lot of additional pitches. Righties, when he gets, and again, early, he's mixing everything up. Late, he's throwing a lot of breaking balls late, or fastballs, right? Sinker, sweeper is kind of what he's sticking with against righties late. So just a really interesting kind of profile here. Almost nobody on the roster has experienced against Cade Cavalli. Mike Yastrzemski's 0 for 3. Kyle Farmer is 2 for 3 with a double. Nobody else on Atlanta's roster has faced him. And then obviously nobody on Washington's roster has faced JR Ritchie. When you look at the bullpens, Atlanta has a lot of guys with really high pitch counts. Jose Suarez, 59 on Tuesday. Martin Perez, 52 on Wednesday. They're both down, but Carlos Carrasco was called up as a long man and should be available. Tyler Kinley threw 19 pitches last night. It's his third appearance in 4 days. I'm sure they would love to stay away from him, but they're not going to jeopardize winning the game just to do that. Joel Payamps had 2 days after throwing 26, or had a day off after a back-to-back, including 26 pitches on the second day of that back-to-back. Dylan Lee only threw 13 last night. Robert Suarez had a very Raisel Iglesias-like 8-pitch inning last night. So I'm sure they can both come back. Aaron Bummer threw 3 straight days, but got a day off. You've got all the leverage arms available if you need them. Carlos Carrasco can take multiple innings. No real concerns here when it comes to Atlanta's bullpen. For the Nationals, they also don't really have a lot of concerns. Their leverage arms should be available. Clayton Beater, Gus Varland, Sinel Perez. That's both of their closers and the setup man. They all had yesterday off, so they should be fine. Longman Mitchell Parker came back from his 3 days off and threw 23 pitches yesterday. I don't think he's ruled out for today unless he's just gotten used to, I pitch once every couple days and I pitch more, because he usually pitches 40, 50 pitches at a time as a long man. Brad Lord threw 37 on Monday as another quasi-long man. I would assume they'd be okay with him pitching today, but it definitely they may want to give him one more day. Julian Fernandez threw 12 pitches yesterday. Normally he wouldn't be able to come, he would be able to come back, but he also threw 29 on Monday. So he's at 41 in the last 3 days. I would imagine they're the only in case of emergency guys. But lefty Richard Lovelady hasn't thrown since Saturday. So if this game's not close, you may see him in there doing a lot of stuff. Either way, Washington can handle just about any game situation today. When you try to figure out what's the key to the game here, my first thought is about how in the first inning, the Nationals have been incredibly productive. They've hung multiple runs and a high pitch count on every single Brave starter, seemingly. Can JR Ritchie have a good warm-up and come out of the gate firing? I think getting some early ground balls in the first inning and getting through that first inning unscathed would be a huge deal for JR Ritchie to be able to make it through 5 or so innings today. Would absolutely be massive for him. Atlanta hasn't seen, like I said, hasn't seen Cade Cavalli a lot, but their power bats have been very productive. Michael Harris has multiple home runs. Matt Olson had a big one. Drake Baldwin's had a couple. Can Cade Cavalli keep them from hitting a bunch of homers today. Braves had 4 in the first 4 innings yesterday, and the Nationals could just not quite overcome that deficit. So can Atlanta score early? Can they keep Washington from scoring early? I think if you can hold Washington off the board or hold them to only a run or two in the first couple innings, they should be perfectly fine. Braves are favored by a 1.5 on FanDuel today. Braves Today sponsor FanDuel. Shout out to them. And if they win this one, they win the series. They've only played 1 4-game series this year. They split it. But the good news is they cannot lose this series. At worst, it would be a split. But I feel good about Atlanta's chances, provided JR Ritchie can have a clean first inning. I think that's the only thing that's going to decide how this goes. So that'll do it for the Braves Today scouting report. If you want the deeper analysis, the lineup breakdowns, everything behind the numbers, make sure you're subscribed to Braves Today. Enjoy the game. We'll be back after it with the postcast over on Locked On Sports Atlanta and today's 3 things over at bravestoday.com.